Hey there, everyone. Welcome to Relentless Talk Radio. Oh my gosh, this is episode 89. And I look at that. Let me update my background. Look at that. It's amazing. So it's episode 89, okay? And it's the Relentless Women Mastermind episode. And what I do every third Tuesday is I talk to two amazing women. And, I initially started out with two of my favorites, Alyssa Glutz and Sharon Bondron. And what happened was we were all so busy, we started to realize that we couldn't make a commitment every third Tuesday. It was kind of tough. And so I thought, well, what else could I do? And I thought, well, how about I have a tag team? So you guys have been nominated. So you're so special that somebody nominated you for this. Michelle Davis nominated Michele Whittingon. We have a Michelle theme going on here. And Kristen Triggs nominated Marie. Do you do Black Young or Young?
It's just Marie Young. Yep.
Yeah, Marie Young. See, we never know if we're hyphenating anymore or if we're just making sure our high school friends can find us, right? So you guys have been nominated. And you don't know me at all. So I think that's pretty cool. We get to know each other here on Relentless Talk Radio. So why don't you tell everybody, Marie, who you are and what it is that you do?
Sure. Thanks, Michelle, so much. So my name is Marie Young, and I have a business. It's Marie Young Meditation and More. And I teach meditation, breath work, and really embodiment classes. And my overarching goal with that is to move people from the sympathetic nervous system state to the parasympathetic. And the sympathetic is the fight or flight that we're all kind of constantly in with everything we have to do. And the parasympathetic is the rest and digest state. So
we're going to talk some more about that later, but I think it's interesting how fight or flight is attached to your digestion.
It is totally. If you hear barking in the background, I apologize.
Don't apologize for puppies. We love that.
Yeah, thank you.
You might hear puppies barking in my background too. It's okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
We can take the stress completely off that. You might hear meowing too.
I love it. Actually, you're absolutely right. Because, when we're states of stress, then the body's like, I have to protect myself and all its energy goes there. So I'm going to clamp down on digestion and not allow that to happen, not allow good digestion to happen where you absorb your nutrients, right? And you're able to get from your food what you need and, it not go to a bad state in your digestion system. So
my stomach always tells me what's going on.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I think what drew me to your work was that you obviously have a great sense of your body and your body's needs and maintaining that. So applause.
My body has given me no choice but to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
They don't have the luxury. So Michele Whittingon, I'll forgive you for spelling your name with one L. One L or two, right?
Right. Yeah. And believe me, I am in the minority of how that name is spelled.
Is it really the minority?
Oh, very much so. Yes. Very much.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. So tell everybody, well, we obviously know you're Michele Whittingon, but am I saying your name the right way?
Mm-hmm. You are.
I was a complete guess. With a name like Micalizzi, I get like a get out of jail free card, right?
Right, exactly.
So Michele, tell people what it is that you do and what your story is.
I will. But my first piece of story is I may have a dog bark as well.
Yeah, for people. Awesome.
He may want to be picked up, and so that may happen too. We'll see. Because he's a little guy and he can fit in the lap and he likes it.
It's really funny. I was just talking with Brandy Lawson. We do an episode on the first and third Thursdays. At 9 a.m. and it's called Digital Evolution, an Entrepreneur's Guide to Evolving Online. And she and I were talking this week about how kind of pre-COVID, we had this facade that everything was perfect at home. And, the dog never barked and your hair was always perfect and you were never in pajamas ever for any reason. Even when you slept, you weren't in pajamas, But with COVID, we're all like, our hair's a mess. We're, I've literally come on Relentless Talk Radio with my hair completely dried naturally, which I'm Italian, so it's like, it's crazy, right? So we kind of the veil has been taken off of life. So dogs barking are okay.
Okay, right. But taking the veil off is actually a really, really great thing. Right.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Yeah, exactly. I have a consulting business called Unleash Your Life, and my whole mission is to help mostly women, but not exclusively, but mostly women, because I love working with women, to take the brakes off, whatever those brakes are that keep them from moving forward to their dreams. So release the brakes, embrace your dreams is what I do. And we do that through one-on-one coaching, through a variety of classes, through retreats. Not right now, no retreats right now, but seminars, things like that. Right now, classes are online. Coaching is either in person or online. But I'm really a Jill of all trades. I've got a lot of experience with tools, spiritual tools, personal growth tools to help us get past whatever the block is to move forward. And consistency is a huge one. I'm so happy to talk on this topic. To move forward into what do you want your expanded life to look like. And I think we're always expanding. No matter where we are, there's another level of expansion, whether it's personally or professionally, whatever it might be, there's always another level of expanding. So I'm all about being your cheerleader and your butt kicker to get you to help you expand.
I think I'm laughing because I just posted this on my Facebook. It says, screw limitations. My foot is on the flipping gas.
Bingo.
And it's funny. I thought, oh no, people are going to think I'm talking about mass and stuff. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, we put these limitations we're limitations, period. End of story. Right. And I just really feel like, sometimes you got to just put your foot in the gas. So I love that you say to take the brakes off, because I think a lot of times we ride the brakes.
Well, we ride the brakes and the gas at the same time. We want to go forward with our dreams. That's the gas, but we've also got the brake on, and we wonder why nothing is happening.
And Marie, doesn't that like make your stomach do that thing that you're talking about? I mean, it's hard to put your foot in the gas and the brake at the same time. If our nutrition is doing that, then we're completely in this constant battle between fight and flight. So this is really interesting. I didn't know. Mm-hmm. We never know how well the guests are going to collaborate until we actually get on this show. So I love it. Screw limitations. I'm putting the flipping gas. Damn it.
It's true. It's so funny. If I could just add something, Michele W. I'm really, so I'm reading this book. It's called Awakening Shakti. Michele, you're nodding your head. So it talks about sort of the divine feminine is really what is within us that's asking us to expand, to come to higher versions of ourselves. But interestingly, it's also the dark side where we keep the brakes on. So it kind of lives there, both those live in it. And so this is more of, it's working with the goddesses to remove obstacles, just what you said, Michele. So, that's certainly one way of doing it. And then what ends up happening, I think, when you are trying to remove obstacles, which I've been working with a goddess to do that, is ultimately, these people come into your life and they appear in other forms. So that's really neat. It's a nice sort of confirmation that you're on the right track. And
I'm having a super deja vu right now.
Are you really?
A total wicked huge deja vu.
Tell us.
You have said this to me before at some point about how people will come to your life because you're drawing darkness to you. Mm-hmm. And they're teaching you something you need to learn. And I've just recently gone through a season of that, where I've come out on the other side being so clearly aware of the landscape. Have you ever had this happen, where you find yourself in a situation and you realize, God, this looks so flippin' familiar, and then you're able to extricate yourself from that dark spot, and then you look back on it and you go, oh, that's what I was doing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's actually sorry to interrupt. That's the Shiva principle. So there's sort of two principles of existence, and we know them as masculine and feminine, right? The masculine and feminine energy, and the power to create both positively and negatively is a feminine energy, right? And then the power to contain that is a masculine energy. So it creates just a simplicity and an awareness. So probably what you were reflecting on is you got out of the situation, and then your ability, your power of awareness was like, what the heck went down there? But it's a really good thing, because you can't change something until you're aware of it. So.
Well, 100%. Michele, you're nodding because this is the work that you're doing.
Absolutely. And said maybe in a slightly different way, or just to amplify what Marie has said, is I have a firm belief, and I've watched it in my own life and in many people, is that when we have unresolved stuff, that dark stuff, we have unresolved, and maybe we've done a lot of we probably have done healing, but there's still something in there. We'll bring that back in a different scenario, different situation, different people, different clothes. I married the same guy twice. He had a different name and a different face and a different career, but he was the same guy.
And we say same guy, different head. I know.
I love that.
So we bring that in so that we can look at it now from a different perspective and do it differently. And then when we do, we break through that. And then that's the clearing of the way, break through that to release the brakes really and move on to the next phase of our expansion.
And I don't just think it happens in romantic relationships either. I have a girlfriend who's at the same flipping job over and over and over again. And she hates it. And within a year, she knows she hates the job. But she stays for 7, 8, 9 years, literally miserable in this job. And thank God she got furloughed. Because now she has the opportunity to look in, and she just recently had an interview, and the interview wasn't the right fit. And she knew it wasn't the right fit in the interview. She called me and said, oh my God, if I have to spend more than 3 seconds with this guy, I'm gonna lose my flipping mind, her boss, right? And she was thinking about the work, and I could hear her starting to rationalize and make the excuses of like why it would be good, because the security was there, the salary, the security, it was a big company, but then when they actually identified that she wasn't the right candidate, she was offended. And I thought, God, don't we do that? Like the wrong guy, the wrong job, the wrong neighborhood, the wrong house, the wrong whatever shows up, and we know it's wrong. But we just continue to try to convince the situation that it's okay because we want so much to have everything be all right that we'll squeeze a round peg into a square hole. And we have to do that over and over and over again until we learn not to do that, I think. Is there anybody that doesn't have to go through that? I don't know anybody who doesn't have to go through that.
I think we all have to go through that, but we can learn. That's the thing. We can learn, like, oh, look what I'm trying to do, and I don't have to do that.
One of my favorite people is listening right now. Cherie's patron. You know her? She says, love this. I'm so glad you're doing this. When I was going through another season of change, I watched her sing at Unity of Phoenix, and she literally, I'll have to tag the song. It was so perfect. So Cherise, I'm so happy that you're listening. Thank you very much for saying that. But go ahead, Michele. I had to let you know before she went on to the next.
That's fine. I adore Cerise, and I'm so happy that she is here listening to this. Yeah. No, I was just saying that we get it. We all have an opportunity at any moment to say, okay, look at what's happening. Look what I'm doing. I'm trying to put myself in this, my square peg in a round hole again. Do I want to do that? That's a level of self-awareness that maybe we don't always have, but that's what this journey is about, isn't it? Of personal growth and development, is to see that when we do it and say, this time I'm not going to. And you know what? I have a firm belief, because I think we are ultimately supported by something bigger than we are, that says, if you keep trying to do that, I'm going to get you out of it. I'm going to get you out of it. So she, like you said, got furloughed.
Yeah.
The universe shoved her out, and now your friend gets a chance to say, do I really want that same job, even though it's a different job, right?
I do think we get ejected from bad situations. I definitely do. So I'm thinking, I can tell just from the beginning, we've already gotten into the meat of what we're talking about, which is totally fine. That's the way it goes. 3 chicks talking, that's the way it goes. So I can almost guess why it is that you guys do what you do. So Michele, why do you do what you do? Because you've been a minister. You've always been in a space of lifting up people, and in women sometimes more so than men. But how come? How did that happen?
It happened because I was a mess a long time ago. Literally, 30 years ago, 32, 32 years ago, I was a mess, and my life didn't work. And I went through a long series, which I will not take the time on your show to describe the series, but I went through a long series of growth, concentrated, pointed growth. And once I did that, And I saw, and painful, by the way, painful growth, when I saw what I was doing and what I was bringing to the table and how I was, in fact, creating this mess that I had, and that I also had an opportunity to change that. And I learned how. A little voice inside of me said, and I don't want to keep this to myself. This is life-changing stuff. I have to share it with other people. So I did that for 22 years as a minister of a non-traditional, very spiritually oriented, but not religious, religion. And then I left that 2 years ago to just focus on it, just to do more of my own thing and not be the minister of a church, but to keep doing the work of helping people become who they can be. Because it brings me the greatest joy to do that. And it helps me continue my work, because I'm not done either. We're never done. As my view is, as long as we're here, we're not done growing, expanding, and breaking through. So as I work with other people, as I create curriculum, as I deliver curriculum, I get my own ahas and my own breakthroughs. So it is a win-win for me and for any client or student or woman that I work with.
You just basically described how I started Relentless Talk Radio.
Yeah.
You know, it really was about the fact that I've had to be just off the hook relentless in the pursuit of my dreams my whole life. Yeah. And in the process of being that type of person, people will say things to me like, Michele, it's so much easier for you. And I'm like, wow, they think it's easy. This is not easy. You know what I mean? So like sometimes I'm very I'm very conscious of making sure people see me looking like shit. Because it was my hair crazy and like, you know, no makeup, and, you know, I'll cry because I don't want people to think this is easy. Like being a relentless anything, business owner, mother, minister, dog walker, you know, having a decision to move in a certain direction is never easy. And I think what Brandy Lawson and I were talking about last week is pre-COVID, we were able to kind of hide that a little bit. And I really think it's kind of cool that we've had to kind of let the cat out of the bag kind of deal. You know what I mean? Like we now are more authentic and showing people, and what I'm doing makes more sense to people. But what you just explained, Michele, is basically the reason why I started to do this show. So how about you, Marie? I mean, I think I've got a good idea why you do what you do, but tell us.
I'm just taking it all in, what you guys are saying, because it's just such perfect timing. So I'm so happy. And, you know, I was preparing for the show and I was doing my makeup and I was like, help me. But, you know, I feel like this requirement that we all look a certain way I appreciate COVID for that almost. Like, obviously, there have been terrible parts of it, but I really appreciate that. So just an aside, why I do what I do is a couple of reasons. So my overarching one is to move myself really, and hopefully move my students from sort of that egoic, you know, the where you identify with the ego, which I was laughing at what you said, your friend said. It reminded me of the Woody Allen joke about the food here is terrible and why isn't there more of it? You know, right? Like we have to go back what we're used to, right? And I've definitely you know, fallen into that category, but you know, I just have this spiritual practice that I keep coming back to, and I think that's just the one that's saying you have to transform. You have to become, you can't stay static. It's not in your nature. It's not really in any of our natures. So my why is to sort of move from, you know, the identification with the ego, which is about separation and about fear, to just a more heart-centered, which has a more courageous and a more accepting energy to it. And I think is that ultimately the way to go and should be in the lead when you're it's also super compassionate when you're moving towards transformation. So I think it will have a good effect, and hopefully we can all move that in terms of awakening the planet to. And I think anyone who's doing the kind of work you guys are doing, or any of this work, it really at the heart is what we're trying to do, is to move the planet from more, that ego, either winners, losers, dominators, people who are being dominated to something that fits us all.
Right. So at the same time, we have all these kind of very spiritual things that we believe in, and we have very compassion is at the center of what we do. However, three of us are in business. Mm-hmm. So I always try to make sure that I ask health and fitness professionals and artists and creatives who don't usually get this question, what's the biggest lesson you've learned about being in business? Because we make our living off of inspiring and encouraging and lifting up others. And so sometimes there's some confusion about that. What's the biggest lesson you've learned about being in business, Michele?
That is such a great question. And I have several lessons running through my head. I'm trying to pick the biggest one. And I guess the one that's bubbling up the most is under promise and over deliver.
Amen.
Under promise and over deliver. And I cannot say I always do that, but I strive to do that. And I find that the more I do that, the more successful my business is.
Yeah, it's hard when you promise the moon and you fall short, because then people are disappointed. But if you're promising the mountains and you get the moon or the stars or the galaxy, then there's always a bigger thanks at the end of it. So I've had to learn that too. And I've also had to learn in the process of that, in that concept, is that I have to actually choose my clients and choose my partners and choose where I put my energy very carefully, because some people, no matter how much you deliver, it will never be enough. Mm. And I've learned to have gatekeeping activities for people to ascertain two things. Are they one of those insatiable, bottomless pits? No offense to some people, they don't even realize it. God bless them, they really suffer, okay? Mm-hmm. Some of them are malintended, but a lot of them are blissfully unaware of being bottomless pits, The other people are people that don't show up. They don't show up for themselves. They're not going to show up for me. And they're certainly not going to show up for this little project I'm doing. So it's in the same kind of niche, that if I'm collaborating with people, I need to make sure that the expectations are achievable, doable. They're not way out there in the ethers, and also that the people that I have with me are on the same trajectory, that I am. Because if not, then what I have is somebody thinks we're going to get the moon, someone thinks we're going to get the stars, and someone thinks we're going to be like in the pond in the scum underneath like the lily flower, like tucked underneath there with the frog. You know what I mean? It depends upon the person, right? When you're collaborating. So Michele, I appreciate that. How do you think that you came to feel that way?
Well, I think I've had some really good role models in my past, and currently who I've watched. I've watched them, promise this and deliver this, and this.
Right.
And how good as a recipient of that I feel, and how much that makes me want to continue to work with him or her.
Right.
And I've also been on the other end of, wow, I paid a lot of money for a program and I don't feel like I got even what was promised, let alone more. So role modeling as the client really helped me. Plus, I just am generally, it's my nature to want to give.
Yeah.
To want to give. So I just love overgiving anyway. I love surprising people with, more than they expected. That just brings me great joy. So yeah, I think that's how I came to that.
Cool. All right. How about you, Marie?
So business has become sort of a tool for how do I become the highest version of myself and give the most value to the most people. And that those people, that included in those people is me, right? So, and then also it dovetails so nicely with what you're doing is the consistency piece, showing up consistently every day. When you don't have a boss, you are your own boss, and you have to do the work, and you have to keep a schedule of the work. Because my tendency is I like to get involved and get really passionate about one thing and say, oh, the schedule I can break the schedule, when really that's where my growth is to not do that. It's to prioritize my tasks and get them done and stay committed to them. So that's where business has really helped me and really put front and center that is a place I need to grow. And that's painful, because, I've tried everything. I've tried procrastinating it. I've tried not doing it. I've tried pretending that it's not important to me, and it just keeps coming back. So, that's my next level of transformation.
I do think that time blocking is important and trying to stay as close as you can. However, I also have discovered you got to be flexible too, especially when you're creative. So if part of what I'm doing is working on a painting for a project, and I get that surge of creativity, I can't just simply turn it off. I got to look at my calendar and say something else out, because I'm going to get this painting done in 2 hours. As opposed to 15 hours of going, what am I doing with this painting? Sometimes you'll be in a task, doesn't matter what it is, and it goes like just poof, just happens. And when I'm in one of those flow sessions, I'll look at my calendar and I'll say, I can move this prospecting thing here, I can do this over here, and I can not go to that event, because if I stop right now, it's going to take me 4 weeks to get back here. So that balancing between staying on task and knowing when it's smart to be flexible, right?
Yeah, it's great. It's a great balancing act, basically. Yeah, you put that so well. It is.
Like if your best client calls you, don't say, I have a time block here for doing the laundry, and so I'm going to have to call you back after I'm done with the laundry because you don't fit into my schedule. I'm sorry. Hang on to that 10K. I don't really need it right now because clocks are full. Yeah, you're gonna, or whatever. You're gonna make the adjustment. So that's a really good segue into the topic of consistency. I really do believe that before we can get anything really done, we have to create a flow. And I just described it a little bit with something that you have to kind of get yourself into a flow of getting into production. And that getting ready to get ready is an important part of actually being able to produce the end result. So when I was a personal trainer, I was pretty busy in New York City, and I would have early morning appointments. And so I would have a gatekeeper activity with people. And I would say, listen, I might have a 5 a.m. coming up, but you're going to have to be here at 4:30. I'm going to have to see you here consistently at 4:30 doing cardio for me to give you that 5 o'clock appointment, because it's a vetted appointment. And they'd say, well, I'm not going to get that early. I go, just get up here and shower. And I would watch people come in and shower, and they would be like, eventually you're going to get pissed off that you're here just to shower, and you're going to get 10 minutes of cardio in. And then before you know it, they would be early morning people getting an hour of cardio in so they could start with me at 5 o'clock. And so I believe that getting your ass out of bed and getting to the gym and taking a shower is like when you're a kid and there was a gorge when I was growing up where my brother was one of the crazy ones that used to jump off the top slimy rock place. That one, you guys probably had one of those places in your kid where kids did that. And you had to get your feet you had to make sure your feet were underneath you, because if your feet were not right, you couldn't jump because you would slip, and then you would for sure hit something and impale yourself and die. So you had to make sure you were ready. And I think that getting ready to get ready is something we forget when it comes time to make a change in your life. I think people think they're just going to wake up on Monday morning and they're going to be right on point. And they wonder why 2 days later, or 3 days later, or 2 weeks later, they're off their kilter. It's because they didn't give themselves the time to ramp up to get ready. So this whole challenge that I'm doing, the Relentless Reset Challenge, is all about getting ready to get ready and creating the habit. So I thought I would talk with you guys. So I'm going to share, and I'm going to share this video with the 89 people that have committed to do that. What do you guys do to get ready to get ready? How do you create consistency in your life, personally, professionally, and with anything of value? Michele, you go first.
Okay. Well, I suspect Marie and I will have some similar things to say on that, in terms of just, I'm going to call it your spiritual practice. And that's a big, gigantic umbrella of what does that mean to you to get yourself centered? Is it meditating? Is it praying? Is it reading? What is it? What do you do to start your day to get yourself emotionally and spiritually ready? And that could be a million things to a million different people, but it's important that there's something that there's something done. And I think consistent exercise is also a huge getting ready to get ready. And I know with COVID, at least for me, it's been really hard because I'm a gym person. I have a personal trainer and I couldn't do that. And then it was really difficult for me to figure out what to do because I refuse to watch videos on TV and dance around my living room. I can't do that. But anyway, I can't do that. So I just recently found a place I can go and do that. So now it's on my calendar. And for me also, that takes me to my second point is that to get ready is get things on your calendar. So I have on my calendar a 2.5 hour block, 3 days a week to get myself to this gym because it's a little ways away and I got to travel and so if it's on my calendar, it'll get done. And yes, with that flexibility, but nothing else will block into that spot. The last thing I want to say is, I don't know if you can read it or not, but behind me, which way should I go? That way. There's a sign that says presence precedes plans. And I have that back there to remind me that no matter what I'm about to do in this given moment, whether it's talk to a client, be on this beautiful experience I'm having right now, sit down to create curriculum, come up with a new coaching program, whatever it is I'm doing, I want to get myself anchored into what I'm going to call my feminine presence. The power of the feminine is huge. I love the book that you're reading, Marie. I have not read that, but I love it. I might have to get it. And I teach a whole system called the Art of Feminine Presence. And there are a lot of practices to get you anchored and grounded in your feminine power. And so that sign behind my desk reminds me, no matter what I'm planning to plan, get in touch, get in alignment with my feminine presence before I do it. And when I do that, my creativity is off the charts, my efficiency is off the charts, my productivity is off the charts, my intuition is off the charts. And I can get stuff done so much quicker and better than when I forget to do that.
See, I love that we just the same thing in our own way. It's about getting into that place of flow where you're like ultimately productive. And your best self is coming out and you're writing and whatever you're producing or whatever, if you're loving your family, making dinner, or whatever it is that you're doing, you're able to actually access all of you. And I love what you had to say about get it on your calendar. I was at my nutrition partners conference in Vegas about a year ago. And one of the speakers said from the stage, show me your calendar and I'll show you your life. And it's true. I put in my workouts, my spiritual practice, my family time, sleep, and eating first.
Yeah, right.
Because if I don't do those things, I haven't got a chance of being productive as a worker among workers. Mm-hmm. So, I've built a life around what means the most to me, but also what means the most to me is me. And it's not because I'm being selfish. It's because if I don't if you have a vehicle and you don't change the oil, pretty soon it stops running. It's the same thing with people, So I really love what you had to say about your calendar, that you've got a specific plan for your health and fitness. I'm going to work out for 3 days. You've built in the time to drive there, And I'm so crazy busy that on my drive times, I make sure that I write all the have a list on my phone where I dump all the podcasts and the books I want to listen to. So on that ride to the gym, I can fill the blanks in with those things that I can't do when I'm captive in the car. I might as well learn something. And how long I'm going to be at the gym and what I'm going to do at the gym. It's people just saying I'm going to work out more is not a goal. I'm going to work out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I'm taking that 2.5 hour block to drive to and from the gym. And while I'm there, I have a trainer and we're working on shoulders, arms, whatever your deal is on those days. And so I really love that you were specific about your goal, that got on your calendar, and you were very aware of planning to plan. So thank you for that, Michele.
You're welcome.
How about you, Marie?
So I just started really blocking my time out. I liked what you said about the quote about show me your calendar and I'll show you your world. So I was keeping a calendar for all my daughter's activities. She's obviously in my world, right? Which is great. I mean, definitely a part of that. But
Which has her picture on Facebook, so I can see how that could happen because she's a cutie patootie. I can see.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. So that was a real like wake up call. You've got to do that. Also, I have a Sunday afternoon sort of prep for the week and put all of my calendar stuff in there. And then I resisted it for so long because I felt like I knew intuitively what I needed to do, and I worked from that place. And so this felt like a structure that was gonna impede my freedom, but it's actually done the opposite. It's allowed me to feel more free within the activities that I do.
Why do you think that is?
Well, from a spiritual standpoint, so we need a container to really most freely express ourselves. And I think that the schedule is that container, because I think it sends a message to the nervous system that you're where you're supposed to be, or your mind, or where you're supposed to be, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. So just take this time to do that. So at least for me, and I think that container, that's sort of the masculine feminine, right? So the container is the masculine. It's the simplicity, the simple awareness that this is what you have to do. And then into that, you pour the feminine presence, as Michele said, and that's where the creativity goes. But for me, I think I was trying to do two different types of the feminine, which is I don't need a schedule and I'm going to be totally creative. and I don't think that, at least it didn't work for me. I need that container.
You know what happened for me was my first degrees are actually in art. I have a master's in fine art, and then I have a degree in computer design. So I am a visual journalist. These stories that I tell on Relentless Talk Radio, which will eventually inspire a series of paintings that will open next December. So what I do is I tell stories and I illustrate them. Well, I started doing a series called The Art of Fearlessly Doing Business about 5 years ago. And what I did was I chose 13 leaders in the community that exemplified fearless in business, because my two passions are art and entrepreneurism, right? Mm-hmm. So, and of course, health and fitness is always there in the background. I built that in, and philanthropy. So I would tell the story, and then the story would inspire a blog, and then the blog and the interview inspired a painting. But they happen in 15 weeks. So I interview 13 people in 15 weeks and make 15 paintings. Oh, wow. And that is a really, really tight schedule. Mm-hmm. So it taught me about having to be creative on schedule. Mm-hmm. And that changed the way I looked at myself as an artist, because before I would have a painting on the wall, and when I'd walk by it and I felt inspired, I'd stop what I was doing and I'd work, Now I had a schedule. I had to have a post up every week on Wednesday with a business owner's life, some type of story that was complimentary and exposed the situation, and then an illustration that I created. And so it really made me realize that you can be kind of over here in the ethers a lot and not get a lot done. You've got to be directed with, okay, I'm going to create a series of 15 paintings. And this is what it's going to take. And this is when the frame's got to get made, and I've got to create the gesso. And I put that on I started doing lives then, and that's how Relentless Talk Radio came to be. So I understand what you're saying. And Michele, I'm hearing your gears turning. What are you thinking?
Well, yeah, that is a beautiful balance of the masculine and feminine, because I mentioned a minute ago the feminine. We're talking about that, but we're both. The energies, we're both masculine and feminine, and we need the balance. So the structure, the container is the masculine, the creativity, the flow, the intuition. That's the feminine. But if you're out of balance with either one of them, then you're not as effective and efficient as if you've got both. So it's an and, not an or.
Yep.
And I'm creative, I'm flowing, I'm intuitive, and I have structure and a way to approach this that gets it done. Mm-hmm. Right?
You need to be able to check the boxes off, because if you can be creative all day long and not complete a project. And honestly, I didn't create a solo show until I attached my business to it. So I thought, isn't that interesting? So this conversation of what's the most important thing that you've learned about being in business is a very important question, because I think that, when we're creatives and we have spiritual guidance and things that we want to do that are about encouraging and lifting people up, we have to have a container to put that in, or it's not effective.
Agreed.
So Michele, there's one thing you wanted to talk about, and I think this might be a good time to pop it in there. It's called the ventral vagus nerve toning.
Oh, that's me.
That is not me.
It's Marie. Sorry. I'm a little confused. Marie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries.
What is that? I'm like, you asked me pre-show, like, do you know what that is? I'm like, no, I have no idea what that is. And so I'm curious.
Yeah, totally. So, so the vagus nerve is a cranial nerve, and it's the longest nerve in the body. It's cranial nerve 10. And it extends down through the organs and helps with a lot of processes in the body, including breathing, speaking, swallowing, and digestion.
No small, right? Yeah.
Big ones, right?
Yeah.
It has two branches. One is the dorsal, which is the back branch, and one is the ventral, which is the front. And if the dorsal gets triggered, that's associated with fight or flight, sympathetic. If the ventral, if you're sort of in the ventral doing things to tone, so it's like muscle tone. You tone it, you work with it so that it is more in the lead than its sympathetic counterpart, which is the dorsal one. So there are just a lot of exercises, and most people do them normally. Yoga certainly helps that. Any really kind of exercise I've found, and I've been studying it for a while, and how it came about was when I was doing my yoga classes, especially during the chanting part, I would start having these autonomic nervous responses. And what those are the automatic ones, like my eyes would water, I would swallow, I would yawn, and sometimes a lot, like what the heck is going on? And so I started researching it, and it meant that I was shifting from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic, because after I would have these autonomic responses, I would feel calmer and really safer. So it's a physiological safety thing where you're not like triggered, you're not under stress for whatever reason. So yeah,
the illustration I just found online about the ventral vaga, sympathetic, and dorsal vaga is kind of what you just said, right?
Yep, let me take a look. Yeah, it's polyvagal theory, which is a new theory, a new-ish theory. Used to be they just looked at the vagus nerve as one thing, but this researcher named Stephen Porges, who's got a lot of research background into the sympathetic and then just the nervous system, he said, wait, there's actually two branches, and the one we want to tone is the one that's associated with parasympathetic. So yeah. So, but they're easy exercises. Even if you've done cat-cow, that does it. A lot of the time, especially as busy women on computers or working with your content, like we'll pull our head, it's called forward head position. So, our head is not tracking over our spine. And just by doing that, actually that very subtly sends signals to the sympathetic nervous system, hey, I need you. Because if you think about it, it's like, I got to get ahead of this animal that's going to kill me. So even just throughout the day, moving your head back over your spine can really help. Just to
it's so interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I've often say just how important it is to move and how important it is to make sure you've got good posture, because your nervous system is housed inside your backbone, and it makes everything else happen. So if you're out of alignment in that way, I think it's one of the reasons why COVID has been so tough on so many people, because of the health and fitness piece. And I just think that they should have made gyms an essential business from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I don't think the people in power, I don't know if I have any data to support this or not, so it might be just pulling this out of my butt. But I just think that there's a lot of politicians that kind of don't take very good care of themselves.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that are in power, And so the idea of a gym being essential, it's not essential to them, so why would it be essential to us? So getting into yoga, and now I was in yoga, I've been practicing for 20 years myself. And I was in yoga a couple of days ago, and the guy beside me was breathing like you're supposed to breathe. And I was pissed at him. And I found myself going, wow, isn't this interesting time that I'm annoyed at someone for breathing in yoga? Like it's an interesting time that we're living in. And I think it does bring up a lot of fear or flight responses, which is, I would bet you that Tums and Metamucil and all those belly medicines are probably like selling out right now. Because over the weekend, my belly was upset. And I thought, where is that coming from? Because that's, I always ask myself that. So I think it's very interesting, this idea of the nervous system with the fight or flight attaching to your stomach is very important.
Yep. The nerve goes all the way down into digestion. So yeah, it's pretty amazing work, because when you're stressed, that you're just not, when you're stress eating or you're stressed over lunch and you're trying to eat, it just doesn't feel as good.
Doesn't feel as good.
Yeah.
Hey, I wanted to let you know that there's this guy, Tim Patter, who says that he highly recommends Michele Whittingon as a coach or mentor. She has amazing work. Feel free to contact me if you'd like a full reference. So
awesome.
Thank you, Tim.
Don't you love that when you get that kind of raving review?
I do. See, and it's a man I work with. See, I do work with men.
Super awesome. Super awesome. So Michele, do you have any programs coming up anytime soon that are like classes or programs? Can you tell us a bit about what you have coming up next?
Sure. Well, let's see. I have two things coming up next. One of them is and this is all on Zoom at this point. We're still doing Zoom, not live. I have Becoming a Rock Star of Your Finances. So it's a 6-week class on Thursday evening, starting October 17th, I believe is the date, or 50. Hold on, just a minute.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. It's October 15th, Thursday night. Runs from 6 to 8:30, 6 weeks. It's amazing. And we were talking before about the balance, the yin yang balance, masculine, feminine. Very much a lot of internal work to tap into what is our consciousness, what are our beliefs around money, what did we learn, what do we hear, what is it time to let go of, what is it time to embrace, as well as what am I doing in the world? So that's kind of the masculine side. What am I doing in the world? How am I handling my finances in my world? And it's an amazingly powerful class. So that starts. And then the following Saturday morning, I'm doing a women-only women's circle for the art of feminine presence. And it is extraordinarily beautiful and powerful work. A small group of women, 10 at the most, where we gather and each week dig into a practice that helps us connect with that beautiful feminine power. So those are the two things coming up on the horizon in October.
And I didn't get your website pre-show, so let me pop it into the scroll here. Hang on, let me get the right space again. What's your website?
Unleashyourlife.us.
Okay. And Michele is michelebyoung.com. So I'm showing that at the bottom of the screen. If you want to work with
MarieByoung.com.
I say okay. The M thing is throwing me off.
Yeah, totally.
My menopause brain. So it's mariebyoung.com or unleashyourlife.us for Michele Whittingon. So that's pretty cool that I'm doing that scrolling on the bottom. And there was another thing that you wanted to talk about, Marie, but I came out of that screen. What was it that you wanted to talk about other than?
No worries. If I could just dovetail off Michele. So I have a program coming up and it starts October 1st.
Okay.
And it's actually called 7 Days to Greater Resiliency. And it's also via Zoom. And cool. The information right now is not on the website. So if anyone's interested, are you able to give them my email address? And if they can just email me, I will get them all the info on that. But it's via Zoom, and I'm teaching resiliency exercises. So
go ahead and email address out loud.
Oh, it's Marie at Marie B. Young. So the letter B, Young. So all one word, mariebyoung.com.
And they can go to your website and click on something there too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. All my classes are also on the website. So I teach classes daily. and you can sign up for them on the website.
And then you also have Yome Yoga that you do, right?
Yeah, so Yome is the corporate side. So I provide the classes to corporate. It used to be in person, but it's more now via Zoom. And that's actually working out better for me, although I do miss the in-person, the in-person experience just for time, because I live outside of downtown and that's where most of the businesses are. Then the Zoom has worked well. The Zoom's worked well. So.
It's kind of a love-hate thing, because I love that I'm not stuck in traffic and I'm not polluting the planet. I love that I don't spend like 4 hours a day driving up and down the highway here in Phoenix. And I love that the only time that that I have to really get dressed is when I want to, you know what I mean? But I also miss that one-on-one face-to-face thing, and I miss groups, and I'm a biker, so I miss the big things. I'm having a big birthday right on October 3rd. Everyone's invited, by the way, if you guys want to meet. If you just search for Michele and Frank's birthday, the event will come up. And we're going to be stopping at Chompy's. So I always, whenever I do a big ride, I always make sure I support local businesses. And as such, I have to add this mask distancing thing in, because we need to be safe, you know? I planned on doing a lot more group rides, but it's really hard to tell bikers to do anything. You know, I mean, it just really is, because it's one of the things we are, is about being free.
Freedom.
So, it's to say, hey, we're going to visit these businesses because we want to support these small businesses. So we're going to Chompy's, which I know the owner's there, and then we're going to Jake's Corners, which is out in Payson, and then we're going to go to Roosevelt Lake. And then we're picking 2 family-owned businesses in Globe and Mesa, and then we're ending up at Lucy's in Glendale. And, you know, in order for those guys to stay open, we're going to have to mask up. Is that
Are you both in the Phoenix area? Sorry to interrupt. Are you both in the Phoenix? Because I'm meeting all these amazing women from the Phoenix area. Like, I don't know what you guys are doing, if it's a vortex or you all just got together and went to School of Awesome, but.
Michele, do you think vortex?
Say that again?
Do you think that Phoenix is a vortex?
Well, I think this is a vortex right here.
Definitely.
For sure.
Yeah.
Kristen's watching, and she says, excellent conversation today, ladies. She was on. And it's so awesome, because we have Kristen, and then we have Alicia Walker, who's sending me a laughy face about masking up. And so Alicia was on my Relentless Bikers episode last week, which, by the way, has had over 8,000. It's reached 8,000 people so far. It's had 3,000 views, and it's had about 600 engagements, which is the first episode of a new series. So Alicia was on last night, and she's laughing because I told her that bikers don't like to be told what to do. But I mean, I don't know. Do any of us really like to be told what to do? I don't know about that. I think we all have our own little freedom.
Right.
Bikers are a special breed of that, though. The principles of freedom. I know this because my husband's an almost biker, because I won't let him ride because we have a 9-year-old. It's a whole thing. But I dated a biker, and I totally got a view into that realm, and it was fantastic. Like, I really learned to appreciate those values and what they were standing for. So.
You know, my dad just passed away in February, and I'm my mom's person. So I wasn't blessed with children. Just didn't have the right guy in the right time frame, and chose not to have them as a result. And so it's the first time I've been somebody's person. And I've had to think about getting on my bike. And my mom actually said to me one day, because I was in between bikes, I had to sell my bike, my Softail Ruby that I rode for 17 years, and I went through a crazy divorce, right? And I had been bikeless for 3 yees. My mom one day said to me, Michele, you have got to go out and get a bike. I'm losing my mind. and she really let me off the hook. You know what I mean? Because I was starting to think, oh shoot, am I going to be like one of those moms that never rides again? And she goes, oh no, life will be no fun if you don't get a motorcycle. So I just got the motorcycle in May. I've been riding it a lot. And what I believe is that I think that God's going to take me when he's going to take me. You know, and I can't live my life in fear. I can be smart. I can mask up. I can wear a helmet on long rides. I can do things that are going to keep me safer. But I really do believe that after holding my dad's lifeless body, a couple months ago in my arms. I really do believe in the miracle of God's perfect timing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 100% with you on that, Michele.
Mm-hmm.
As a minister, do you feel that way, Michele, just generally?
Sure. And as a woman who lost her beloved husband, I absolutely believe that when it is our time to go, we will. And it doesn't matter what we're doing or where we are. And yes, we need to do prudent things in this world to keep us safe. So it's like I was talking before about the and. It's not or, it's and.
Yeah, right.
And we do prudent things in the world. And when it is our time, when our soul is ready to go, it will go.
I completely believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes we have to, I just met someone recently, and there's so many dates that are lining up. You ever had one of those kind of meetings that someone just meets you on Facebook, you bump into them at a grocery store or something, you become friendly, and you realize you have all these dates in common, and all these dates at the same time and stuff. And every time I meet someone like that, I think to myself, there's divine guidance in everything that we do. And I don't think there's any accident that I chose to do the Relentless Reset Challenge and talk about consistency when both you ladies are really, that's what you're working on with people, is about creating consistent practices in our lives that bring us to the next level. Because I really believe that we are what we do consistently. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Yep.
I also think we're the sum of the 5 people we hang out with the most. I think that's true.
Yep. I would just say, from an energetic standpoint, if you look at energy as vibration, I'm trying to keep this as grounded and practical as I can, but, you can tell when someone's dense and, not available. And if you're hanging around that, all day, it's contagious. Eventually it's going to seep into your experience. So
I believe that to be true about hate and bigotry and anything that's a low level vibration activity.
Yeah.
Fear, all that stuff is just very low. And I find that when I'm around that kind of person, my hair starts to fall out, my stomach's not right. I'm just not at my best, right? I think it's very potent. There's a sign actually in EOS that says, attitudes are contagious.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are in this world of COVID with things being contagious. But what do you think, Michele? Because you've been a minister of a church, which people don't realize that churches are businesses. I always get annoyed at people when they say, "Oh, churches are always asking for money." I'm like, "Well, how do you think the lights get turned on?" There's electric bill, and there's lights, and there's all kinds of things to take care of. The people want to go to a church to get help, but you have to employ people.
Correct. You do. That's correct.
Yeah.
I was having lunch with a friend yesterday and said, as a minister, yes, you're the spiritual leader. You inspire people. You hope anyway. That's your goal.
Right.
You help them transform their lives and heal. But you also are the CFO, sometimes the CEO, the COO of running a business. So lots of business experience running a church for sure.
Yeah, and I'm always just kind of like baffled. Well, how do you think it's supposed to happen?
Righto. Yeah.
So I try to keep my show under an hour so I can load it to Instagram TV, without having to do too much editing work. So we're at 58 and 10 seconds. Is there anything in closing that you ladies like to say before we shut up for the day?
No, just thank you. This has been fantastic. I don't know about you ladies, but if you're working at home and doing your stuff, it can be, it's a feeling of disconnection from other like-minded people. So it's just been really great.
Oh, awesome. Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. And thank you, Michele, for the opportunity. I loved it. And just to go back to your question about the 5 people, I agree that that's really important. And it's also, I think, really important to have somebody in that 5 that's really on the road a little bit ahead of you, so that you have, someone who's been there, done that, and can help pull you along. So I love that idea as well.
I love Matthew McConaughey's his speech about look at the time real quick. The speech about when he won the Academy Award, where he said he always has to be chasing somebody. And he was asked when he was 25, and the person, and of course, like Google Matthew McConaughey Oscar speech, it's amazing. If you haven't seen it. And he says, I'm chasing me in 10 years.
Yeah.
And then he comes back to me at 35 and said, you got me? He said, no, I'm not even close to being there. I'm chasing me in another 10 years. So the thing is, I'm never going to be my ideal self, so I'm always chasing me. Yeah. And I think that's true with friendships too. And that's why this is a tag conversation, because I want you guys to introduce me to people that I don't know that are going to teach me something, because that's how I know 30,000 people. Is by just going, I want to meet more people. I want to meet people that are inspiring and doing things, and you just never know where that can lead you, personally, professionally, physically, spiritually, in every way, to keep your mind and heart opening to meeting the right people. Oh, we just went over an hour. I'm going to have to edit. Oh, well. All right, guys. Well, I really appreciate your time. And thank you so much for being on the 89th episode of Relentless Talk Radio. In the years that I've been doing this, I've interviewed over almost 300 people. And so I'll tell you what your number is. I'll count it up tonight. So it was really nice to meet you. And thanks, everybody, for being here for episode 89 of Relentless Talk Radio. Every third Tuesday, we have an episode called the Relentless Women Mastermind. And these two lovely ladies are going to pick my next two guests. So we hope to see you back here again next Tuesday. But definitely, if you're interested in being empowered by strong women who are unapologetically strong women, who are doing the do in their life, and come back on the third Tuesday for the Relentless Women Mastermind here on Relentless Talk Radio. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you, Michele. Thank you so much. Thank you.